So what is the current thinking in Brussels is that we really have to do better. We need to bring back security, the sense of security to our citizens. We have seen, so we are working, doing this global coalition against ISIL. We are in the forefront of that. We have managed to put together bitter enemies at the same table, such as Saudi Arabia and Iran, Russia, the US. We are trying to do this common front to defeat ISIL, and as there are some timid gains on the ground, we see that the reaction is widespread and various types of attacks. And of course, you know, when you have a track, you know, forcing it into citizens and pedestrians, you see that means that as you're trying or you're attempting to defeat, attacks may be multiplied, so may be difficult times. So how you deal with that? So I have to say that it is one of the points of discussion of the EU leaders on a monthly basis. We have agreed to enhance our coordination. We have seen that even, for example, in the case of the Brussels attacks, there was a notification from Turkey for one of the terrorists that went to Holland, and Belgium was not informed. We saw that plenty of loopholes, lacunae in the system, etc. So although these are touching on basic rights and human rights, and you know, how you treat information on individuals, we need to be very careful with that, and this is a common debate, including here in New Zealand. There's no doubt that we have to do better, and we have to enhance our coordination. So I was not planning to start with that, but that it is where we are at this moment. But I think that as those events unfortunately come again and again, the only thing that they do it is enhance the world's resolve to fight together the terrorism. We cannot see other better way than we're doing it together, especially as European countries. I will say a few words about the migrant crisis, that a lot, and especially another threat in the EU we see is that because of terrorism and because of the migration crisis, we have seen a lot of populist, nationalistic, extreme right movements that are on the rise. Citizens are scared, and they feel that you know, they are failed by their politicians. They have this feel of anger and insecurity, and they are easy prey to those movements that we have seen, that history has proven that in the European continent has brought only disaster. The migrant crisis, again, it is one of these that found the EU, I would say, if I use the term, unprepared because of the massive scale. Although the events in Syria that were unfolding rapidly, and the humanitarian disaster was unprecedented, and of course the first host countries such as Lebanon, Jordan and Turkey, that took most of the burden, and the EU with a massive humanitarian assistance tried to help. But of course, and there's a very complex problem, including also the traffickers, etc. Suddenly the EU, a year and a half ago, found itself, you know, submerged, especially in some hotspots, especially in the Greek islands, you know, of this massive inflow of refugees. And then there was not proper registration, there was not proper welcoming, there was not proper sheltering, and then those people, they tried to move towards the north. There was a big debate, you know, what were we going to do? They should stay where they are. What is the best way of addressing that? I have to say that it's easy to find excuses, but definitely that has created a lot of frustration and anger among European citizens. That again, I mean, they felt another threat, and at the same time, terrorist attacks that were multiplying, and there were links that these people they filtered, they came through this flux of refugees, and nobody was able to detect the potential threat. So again, EU leaders had to work very, very hard, and I have to say that it was an extraordinary amount of work that it was put, again, to find a European solution. And we ended up to a major agreement with Turkey last April, which it was a game changer as regards the inflow of refugees. I'm not going to give a detail of this agreement because it is online. It has 10 points, 10 major points. But the principle is that for every illegal refugee that comes through Turkey to Europe, it will be returned back, but at the same time the EU will receive one asylum seeker from Turkey, from Syria, and to install him or her somewhere in Europe. At the same time, and it's a very complex deal, we are massively assisting Turkey to have a proper accommodation and sheltering of those people, ensure that those people that are returned back to Turkey, they are treated in humane and decent way, helping the other countries that they are also facing the same problem of refugee camps, such as Lebanon and Jordan. At the same time, working very hard with all our partners to sign readmission agreements, because we need to make a distinction for people whose life is a threat, and those people, according to the EU, they will always be welcome to stay in the EU whenever there is an asylum seeker and is under persecution or threat for his life, his family life. This is the number one principle of the deal that we have done. But at the same time, we cannot afford to allow this huge also inflow of economic refugees from many other countries, such as Bangladesh, such as Pakistan, etc. So we have been working with those partners, and also we have been enhancing quite considerably our direct aid, development assistance to those countries, and also ensuring diplomatically, but also through a host of agreements, that those people that they are returned, they're not going to face any persecution or any other threat once they are back in their country of origin.